Hey everybody, welcome to Soundfly's Office Hours. Thank you for tuning in with us today. We're here with two music business experts I am extremely excited to pick the brains of. Today we have with us Bree Noble. Bree Noble quit her corporate job as a director of finance to pursue music. After her successful run as a touring singer-songwriter, she founded Women of Substance Radio to promote quality female artists in all genres. She hosts the Female Entrepreneur Musician podcast, of which I am a new fan and subscriber, where she teaches music marketing strategies and interviews successful indie female artists and industry pros. Drawing on her extensive experience, Bree has created online courses, like Soundfly has, to help musicians learn to make a living from their music. Bree, welcome to Soundfly's Office Hours.
Thank you. I'm glad you're a new fan of the podcast.
Yeah, it's been really fun. It's exactly the kind of podcast I love listening to, getting those like nitty-gritty, in-depth personal experiences and insights. That's amazing.
Yeah, and I think it's an important thing to say that you're a male and you're listening, even though it's female entrepreneur musician. Like, we focus on females, but we love males.
Well, I am certainly enjoying it regardless, and I appreciate that you're lifting up female voices in the music industry. I'm all for that. So
awesome.
We also have with us today Suzanne Paulinski, who has seen a broad swath of the music industry. She was an intern for Atlantic Records, a college rep for WEA. She was founder of the student-run record label Mad Dragon, and has also done a run as a manager of the National Street Team and Midwest Retail for Astralworks, which is quite a few hats to have worn already. Since then, she's completed her master's in psychology at Queens College in New York and founded the Rockstar Advocate, where she is a mindset coach for musicpreneurs, which you'll have to tell us more about, and helps them reach their goals with custom time management solutions that enable them to gain clarity on their next steps while maintaining a healthy work-life balance. Certainly something that I could use a little bit of myself, it sounds like. Just so you all know, my name is Martin Fowler. I am one of the course producers and mentors with Soundfly, where we offer mentorship-guided courses to become any musician you are trying to be. Check out soundfly.com, see all of our course offerings. And just so you know, from my perspective in this talk, I am a musician composer as well. I produce a lot of music for podcasts. I play in a couple of bands. I tour. So I'm going to be the one asking a lot of the questions that our audience has, being sort of the dummy in here and letting the experts doing the talking this time around. So thank you, Suzanne, for being here. Thank you, Bree, for being here.
Sure. Absolutely. Thanks for having us. I'm a big fan of Soundfly and a huge fan of Bree Noble as well, so I'm very excited.
Awesome. I got ya.
To start, I'm going to start with Bree and break into this with our first question. How can you get more done in less time so you can continue to make progress in your career, even if you're trying to do it on the side?
Oh my goodness, this is such a huge topic. It's hard to even know where to start. But I think the biggest thing is that overwhelm is the biggest enemy of, number one, creativity, and number two, momentum. So, just getting away from that overwhelm is the biggest thing that you need to do. And it's so easy to get overwhelmed, right? We're overwhelmed by all the things that we think we need to do for marketing, all the songs that are running around in our head that are half written that we haven't finished, all the information on the internet that can be, so helpful, but also just like leave us spinning our wheels and confused as to where to start. And so I think the biggest thing is to just knock out that overwhelm by really figuring out how to focus on goals. And for me, it's all about coming up with goals that are smart, that are actually going to be attainable, and that, you have a time frame for them, so you can actually know that you can achieve something within that time frame. That time frame should be something that's, not so close that you feel like you can't get that much done in an amount of time, but not so far out like a year where you're like, I can't even fathom getting all of this done. It's just too far out for me to even think of. So I kind of like to think in 90-day sprints, and having people create sets of goals, usually 4 or 5 goals, each goal kind of focusing on a different part of their music career to really get them to compartmentalize a little bit, but not be overwhelmed. Like, maybe they've got a goal about a music related goal about practicing a certain instrument or, their voice and getting to a certain place. Maybe they have one goal about writing certain songs. Maybe they have a marketing goal about releasing something or building up their social media. I try to split the goals into different areas of their career. So, but I mean, the goal is just like the first step, because then you've got to break that down, right? You got to break it down into tons of different small little steps that you can do every day. You don't want to just look at that goal and go be like, I don't even know how to get there. That goal, looking at it every day, can be motivating, but if you don't have steps that you've identified behind that, then that goal can just like almost be like laughing at you in the face, like you can't possibly get this done because you don't even know how to do it. So you have to spend that time figuring out how to do all the little steps. But I'm sure Susan's got something to say on this as well. I have plenty more if more specifics come up, but that's kind of where I start.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with Bree. I think everything she said was spot on. I like to think of it as monotasking and microtasking. So really focusing on, multitasking is a myth. Don't try to do it. It's not going to work. So picking one thing to focus on at a time and getting it done and putting your energy to it, but also understanding why you're doing it. If you have a goal on your list or something you're working towards and you're not sure why you're doing it, and if it doesn't light you up and get you excited, it's probably not worth your time. So really understanding why you're doing certain things. Sometimes we get so far into something and it's no longer serving us, but we don't stop to think like, do I need to change course here? Do I need to do something different? So always taking that time, as Bree said, in those 90-day sprints, which I also agree with, each week just saying, okay, where am I? Have things shifted? Did I learn something new that pointed me in a slightly different direction with it? Do I have to tweak something I'm doing? So really, as Bree said, breaking it down into those smaller micro tasks and taking it step by step and always checking back in with yourself to make sure, okay, this is still going where it needs to go. I think, we get in such a rush, and I call it like this false urgency where we think everything needs to happen right now and everything's important. I have to work on everything at once. And if you just pace yourself and check in with yourself and be like, okay, like slow and steady wins the race always.
That's a great answer. Yeah, I certainly have a lot of firsthand experience dialing things back when I'm trying to do too many things at once, and that's really great advice. Do you have any thoughts or ideas for DIY goals for artists who are trying to build a following for the first time, get more fans, and set a tangible goal in, say, a 90-day period for themselves in terms of actually doing that successfully, building a following? Suzanne, feel free to start.
Okay. The first thing I would say, like regarding a PR firm or bringing on a manager or working with a booking agency, like all of those things, I get a lot of phone calls from artists where, they're putting out their first single and they're like, okay, so like what PR firm do I hire? And I say, none of them, nobody. Like, don't you,
Amen.
you're ready to build a team when you have so much going on that you can't possibly do it yourself. And I know you could be putting out your first single and already feel like I can't do this myself, but really you're not supposed to just be knocking it out of the park right out from the get-go. So, your first single is not going to be your last single. Release your music, get a feel for who your audience is, because when you hire somebody, they're going to say, who's your audience? Where have you played? What have you sold? Like, what are your downloads? Like, that you need something to come to them with. So first, I would say, if you're really starting from the beginning, maybe you've put out a couple of songs, like you don't really have, I'd say anywhere under like 1,000 followers. If you're in that spot, that is totally fine. And your first focus should always be your fans. So focus on engaging, focus on getting to know who they are, how they came across your music, what do they like, what do they don't like, and really, calls to action should always be a part of what you do. And when I say calls to action, I'm saying follow me on Spotify, check out my new video, subscribe to my newsletter, whatever channel you're building at the time. And as Bree and I have both said, like one thing at a time. So whether it's you want to build up your YouTube subscribers right now, or you want to build your mailing list, a call to action when you promote stuff is really important. And give one. You know, if you're writing a newsletter to your fans, do you want them to follow you on Spotify this week, or do you want them to subscribe to your YouTube channel? Like, pick one, be clear about it, and give them a reason to follow you. So, you know, really honing in, and you're not going to get it right away. You're going to screw it up sometimes. You're going to, you know, it's going to be messy, and that's okay. But like, pace yourself and use these next 90 days to really learn about calls to action and who your fans are, and start asking them questions. The best thing you can do is ask your fans questions. Doesn't even have to be about your music. Like, hey, what did you do today? How's life? What's going on? What are you working on? You know, get to know who your fans are, because then they'll feel like you care, and they'll be more willing to share your music and get you more supporters.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you said that, like, out of the gate, about when you're first starting out, like, don't think that you're building a team right away, because you're not ready for that. And you're wasting so many resources, money, and time on something that's not going to work for you because you're at the beginning stages. So many people think they see other artists doing these things. They haven't thought, oh, this artist probably has 5 years in this already, but I'm new. I can do exactly what they're doing, right? That's not going to work for you. And so, you know, on my end, that's why I developed this 5 stages of music career growth and this framework, because I saw so many people doing exactly what you said, thinking, well, I'm releasing a single, and, you know, well, Taylor Swift is releasing a single, so I should do exactly what she's doing because that's successful for her. No, she has so many years of putting in all this sweat equity and, you know, building her relationships and all that behind that. You cannot imitate what she's doing at your stage. So the important thing is to be realistic and know where you're at and approach it from there. So, you know, if you're just starting out and you don't even have an email list, then you need to be focusing on how to get people onto that email list. How are you building connections? And really, in the beginning, like Suzanne said, it's one-to-one. Like, people just think, well, I can just take the shortcut and hire a PR agent and just blast my information out there everywhere. But that's not going to help you make connections with the people that are going to be your true fans. You need to start out one-to-one with people that already know you and like you. You know, start out with your family and your friends and your old college buddies and people you knew from high school and the friends of your mom. You know, like, don't be afraid to explore all of that, you know, nepotism that you've already got, right? You've already developed like this relationship and this equity with them. Why not go and have them be your ambassadors and then ask them to share? I think people are just always trying to jump far ahead because they see, like, you know, the stars are in their eyes and they see what these other musicians are doing. And I just can't stress enough that that will just leave you, number one, broke, number two, you know, frustrated. And I've seen so many musicians burn out by doing that because they think that they need to be super successful out of the gate with their first single. Right. And you don't want to be successful then, because you're still like getting your legs. Like Suzanne said, you're trying to figure out who your audience is. And, you know, maybe you've never done a radio interview or a podcast interview. And the first ones you do, I can tell you from experience, are going to be crap. Right. Like, you know, you don't want to waste your money hiring a PR agent to get you like these big opportunities when you're not ready for it.
I'm so glad that you threw all that out there. You're doing an amazing job at breaking down all of these like commonly held myths about ways to break through. You've also basically answered my next question, which was, how can you transition a listener from just discovering your music to becoming a super fan? A lot of what you've talked about, Suzanne, was like, and Bree, is this one-on-one engaging with the audience directly kind of thing. I guess my follow-up to that would be, when I think about doing that, it's my mind first goes to the sort of the trope of like, oh, like, I'll make a video, the video will go viral, and then I'll be successful, obviously. Yeah. And I get that you need to engage with your audience and you need to build these relationships. That seems like a thing that's very easy to do in person. When you play shows, you can actually literally talk to your fans. What would you say is the most effective way to actually connect with your fans and build an audience not live over the internet?
If I could just add to what Bree said about ambassadors, like I love that she said that with, the relationships you've already made. The big thing that you need to be doing when building these relationships is teaching your fans how to be good fans. So, when Ariel Hyatt and I recently did a marketing course together, and what we were telling the musicians was, there's, you can say to them, like, share my music, but they might not know really what that means, number one, and number two, what that does for you. Because, there's this thing called the bystander effect, and it's kind of like, God forbid there was like a car accident, right? And a bunch of people see it, and then people just think, oh, somebody else called 911. Like, why, so people often feel like when you do Patreon, donate $1 a month, and they're going to say, all right, well, I can only do $1 a month, and what good is that going to do? So I don't have enough to give $5 or $10 to make an impact. So, and they don't do it. Right. But I had a client recently get out there and say, no, you don't understand. Like $1 a month actually does make a big difference. And this is what happens when I get this dollar. Here's where it goes to. Here's what it enables me to do. Like, I donated $1 to somebody's Patreon, and I was just like, okay, whatever. And they wrote me back and they said, you don't understand, that dollar got me to the next tier. So now I'm able to do more with Patreon. So I don't even really know how Patreon works. So I didn't know that. And so like giving them with the calls to action, being able to say, when you do this, when you follow me on Spotify, Under the Rug is a great band. They're based out in California, and they just did this campaign to follow them on Spotify. And they were explaining, when you pre-save my song, this enables us to get more streams and reach a broader audience. So by clicking pre-save, you're really helping us out. So letting your fans know what that impact is, so they can feel like they're helping you. I would definitely focus on that. So like you said, you're at a show, you're one-on-one, but instead of worrying about doing a video that can go viral, just do a quick video message to your fans, teaching them how to be good fans, like showing them what that looks like.
That's really important, because fans don't understand like all this techie stuff that we have to know. Like, oh, the algorithm will do this. If you need to tell them, like, hey, if you share my live stream, then the algorithm will love me and want to share it to more people, and they don't know about that. And just, I love that you said that, training them to be good fans, because just giving them specifics of what to do. Sometimes we're thinking, oh, well, I'm sure they know that, it would really help me out if they shared this, but they're not thinking that. But if you plant that seed in their mind, it's amazing when I remember to actually do that on my live streams, what a big difference it makes, right? So, when you're doing some kind of a live stream or a video, write out that stuff. Make sure that you don't forget to put it in, because just those little reminders really help. And I think, going off of the way we're talking here, for me, the biggest way to realize how to turn listeners into fans is, first of all, realize it's a journey. Like it is like a relationship. It is a dating relationship almost. And you can't just expect them to like fully invest in you the first second that they listen to it. Just like if you did it like a speed round dating thing, it wouldn't be like, okay, let's go home and go to bed. Like that's not going to happen. So you need to think about it like a journey and what kind of steps people take. And the best way to do that is to think about some band that you love and how did you become a fan of them? What was that journey? Break that down. Okay, I heard their song on Sirius XM and I really liked them. So then I went and like did a little, went to their website, and then I did this, and you know what I mean? How did you all of a sudden now start going to their concerts and you're on their email list? How did you get there? And if you like reverse engineer that, then you can think about the little clues that you can drop for people that are potential fans of you to same kind of listener discovery journey.
What are some of the most effective ways for musicians to explore multiple income stream options for themselves?
Well, I think, first of all, just knowing what they all are. I did a summit this last year, just trying to expose like all the possibilities for musicians, because you might not have thought of the kinds of things that you can do, as far as like once you've got music, ways that you can earn royalties. I've got this one a cappella version of the national anthem that I recorded when I was auditioning for Dodger Stadium. And I just threw it up on, one of those sites online where you can get direct licenses for things. And I'm still constantly getting people licensing this for like state fairs, just out of nowhere, right?
Wow.
So you have to think about the ways that you can bring in these small little pieces of income to build it all together. Maybe you do some vocal demos. Maybe you do, do you have a setup for that? Maybe you can do some voiceovers for people. Just basically lay out what are your talents? What is the tech that you have that can help you achieve that? Do you think that your songs would be really great for licensing? Then you need to focus on that. Are you more of a live performer and you make a ton from that? Well, how can you expand that? What kinds of merch could you add that could, double what you make from every single performance when you're out there? So it's just really thinking about the talents that you have and then just really doing the research that you need to like think of what you could add to your portfolio. Because I think a lot of times we're just like, oh, all there is for musicians is performing live, selling music, and, private lessons. Like that's all the things I can think of. There's a lot of other things out there.
Do you have any particular resources, including your own website, for finding some of those ideas or getting some ideas about that stuff?
I mean, I think my website is a great place to go just because there's tons of podcasts, interviews with people that have specialized in different kinds of income streams. So we have like a whole section about income streams on our site. There's all those like lists online that you can look up just to spark some ideas of what you could add. There's Patreon, there's just so many things you can do, but the key is choose a few. Like, don't try to do all of them. If you do Patreon and crowdfunding and, like you'll do them all half baked and you won't get any of them off the ground. So you need to figure out which ones really resonate with you and your why and your talents and your resources and your lifestyle, and then go all in on those maybe 3 to 5 income streams.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Suzanne, anything to add to that?
Yeah, only that the Future of Music is a great website too, and they have a huge, it's like 45. If you just search income streams for musicians on the Future of Music website, they give like a whole big list as well that I like to use in my presentations when I talk about it. But Bree pretty much nailed it completely. Yeah, just ditto what she said.
We just ran a piece on Kanye West and how he's constantly releasing like not EPs or LPs, but what we were calling MPs, which is like right in the middle. What do you think is the best way to, what's the most effective format for releasing music, would you say, in the world today? Suzanne.
Yeah, first I just want to say, don't use Kanye as an example, though. I mean, it's true, that's what but and I don't even mean, I'm not even getting political, about that. I just mean, he's a big artist. So, right. Listen, Beyonce's going to drop an album. She could drop 40 tracks at once. We're going to, even if we had to pay $5 a track, we would buy all of them. Yeah. But that's her audience. So, first I would start with, knowing your audience. And again, if you're just starting and you have under 1,000 fans, you don't really know your audience yet. So, unless your audience is really, and I'm in this category myself, 35 and over, then maybe an album will be good because that's how we like to digest music, or that's how we're used to it. But if you have a younger audience, please don't release an album because that's not how they digest music. It's a lot of work on your part. It's a lot of money, and you're not going to have the impact you want. So release it as singles. And the other just quick perspective, this is really the last thing I'll say on it, because I'm not a musician, but this is what I've seen time and time again. The beauty of releasing singles, unless you've got a huge concept album that you just really can't break apart, and your fans are from past experiences, you've released albums, they've bought it, you tour a lot, so you sell CDs at your shows. Unless that is indicating to you should release an album, releasing singles, the beauty of it, look at it as it's more freeing and less pressure because it's just a small 4 to 6 week campaign. you're going to do your best. You're going to be messy. You'll make mistakes, but then you'll improve it for the next single. And so take the pressure off yourself. Like, oh, I've got 12 to 14 tracks. I've spent 3 years on this. I don't want to mess it up. And like, then you're going to do this massive launch, right? But if you just release singles and the beauty is with each single, you can have a different goal for it. So one could be, I'm going to release it and really focus on Spotify and get more followers on Spotify. The next one, I'm going to do a music video for it, and I'm really going to focus on building my YouTube channel. Then the third single, I'm really going to like use that to like maybe perform, do more Facebook lives. And now I'll have 3 singles to perform, so I can do more of like a show, or, you know, like you have a purpose for each single to leverage. As Bree had said in the beginning, you have all these different areas of your career. Let each single work for you singularly for a certain area, especially if you're just getting started, so that you're not trying to release a whole album and do all the things for all the songs.
Oh my gosh, I so agree with that. All of what you said, and just more opportunities to make a splash. That's what you need. That's why singles are great, because like you said, you can focus the calls to action in different ways for each one. It can give you more opportunities to just get your name out there and promote, and not to keep hammering the same thing over and over again. And it takes the pressure off. And it's just, you can, you know, once you've built up those singles, then make an album if you're performing, and then you can sell that album made up of all those singles when you're, you know, on tour. But you don't have to worry about this huge like release and stress and all this money investment. Absolutely agree.
The question comes from Dennis Mamman, I hope I'm not mispronouncing that, who essentially asks, how do I manage my music life and my school life at the same time? Which is essentially, what is the best practice for approaching a work-life balance in the music industry? Bree, you want to start there?
Sure. Yeah, this has been a big topic for me, because a lot of people say, like, for me, it was always like, if I have a day job and I've got doing music, how do I balance this? And I just think you have to look at the times in your day where you can fit it in, where you may be having idle time. I love to talk about just doing it during, if you're working or maybe you're at school and you've got like an off hour or a lunch hour, planning such that you can actually get some music stuff done, because at that point you're really rolling in your day, you know, your mind is really working well, you're in like work mode. Why not try to get music in there? And then, you know, figure out, maybe you can do some booking calls then, maybe you can do some internet research then, maybe you could actually bring your instrument or practice some vocals in the car. Like, I totally did this when I worked. And other things is that just think about that idle time that's related, like commuting. You know, if you're taking an online course, if you're listening to a podcast, make sure that you've got what you need in the car, so you can do that when you're in the car or on the train, and utilize that time, since, you know, you're already there anyway. And that's the best way to do it without feeling just totally strapped and overwhelmed.
Right. Yeah, and I'm going to do a little shameless plug here. But one of the things that I create for musicians is I just released a 2019 Rockstar Life Planner. So this is the 4th year that we've done it. It's now spiral bound, because a lot of people were asking for that. And it's a weekly planner aimed at creatives. And a lot of the exercises we have in the planner are to get you thinking about that balance, because the balance I want is not the balance that Bree wants or that you're going after. Everybody's life is different. So there are exercises in the book that help you figure out where your priorities are and then how you're going to block it out. And there's also a link in there to my 3-day free challenge. It's called the Get Shit Done Challenge. And I can send you the link to put in the Facebook group if you want, but it's a free 3-day challenge, and it helps you figure out how to time block your week so that you understand, well, as Bree said, all right, I'm commuting. I have an hour of commuting time in the morning and then in the afternoon. So if you're on the train, what work can you do? If you're driving, what podcast can you listen to and like learn new things? So like it helps you break that down and figure out where those micro tasks that we talked about can go. So yeah, it's all about, as Bree said, like priorities and finding that time and utilizing it effectively.
Brilliant. Well, with that, let's bring this to a close. Bree Noble, Suzanne Paulinski, I want to thank you both so much for being on Soundfly Office Hours. Just so everyone knows, at Soundfly, we do mentorship-driven online courses in all aspects of music, from music business to production to performance. Please check us out at soundfly.com. Suzanne, where can people find out more about you, find you on the internet, etc.?
Everything you need to know is at therockstaradvocate.com.
Great. And for you, Bree?
Yes, femmusician.com. That's F as in female, E as in entrepreneur, musician.com. And I did want to throw in my shameless plug for my 5-stage music career growth masterclass, which is at musiciansprofitpath.com. That'll help you know what to do at what stage you're at right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Well, I hope to check all of that out myself because it sounds like I could use it. Thank you both so much again for being with me here today, and keep rocking.
Thank you.
Thank you.